my dear friends and colleagues, and I would like to welcome you to this inaugural AIS session of the Trapeze Artists. Want to thank Partha for having conceived this, and also not interfering further in the scientific sessions and in whatever we want to deliberate here. So thank you, Partha, for giving us a free hand. And one thing that we've realized while doing this is that science must be fun. If science is not fun, then there is nothing left in it. Science has to be fun. You have to enjoy it. You can't get serious all the time. And you guys are going to be fortunate to see tomorrow's masters today. Here's a welcome to Dr. Anis Bhavnagarwala, who's the co-ring master with me, along with the joker, Ranjit Daliwal, who's the only senior guy there. Vijay Bhai, hello,
Hi,
how are you?
Hi, sir.
Have you ever seen Sachin Tendulkar as a 17-year-old before he really made his mark? Have you seen Roger Federer as a 15-year-old win the Wimbledon, junior Wimbledon? You haven't. You are now going to see the masters of tomorrow. And with that, without much ado, I'm going to give you the first master is Saumil Sheikh. Saumil, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Saumil, go ahead with your
Hi
video.
all. Yeah, I'll just be sharing my video now.
Yeah, your discussant will be Dhanashri.
Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Is the
Famous
sound coming as
various
well?
techniques to relieve a central retinal artery occlusion, especially when operated upon by
Was the sound coming as well?
Yes.
Okay.
vitrectomy less than 24 hours. A 75-year-old female with a known history of coronary artery disease presented with central retinal artery occlusion of 18 hours duration. A cigar-shaped embolus extending along superior and inferior arterioles was noted in the optic disc area. From its physical appearance, it appeared to be a cholesterol plaque. Began by performing a 23-gauge pars plana vitrectomy with PVD induction. Internal limiting membrane peeling was performed as an added measure to improve foveal oxygenation, at least theoretically, as some reports mention, in case we were not to succeed in our embolus dislodgement. ILM comes piecemeal and care needs to be taken to avoid trauma to boggy nerve fiber layer. ILM is peeled in the peripapillary area to aid physical contact maneuvers with the artery. A cigar-shaped embolus extending along superior and inferior arterioles was noted in the optic disc area. This maneuver, creating low pressure in the vitreous cavity, may enhance arterial pressure gradient, forcing the embolus out. So we clamp the infusion port and give active suction to aid the arterial pressure to push the embolus forward. Hypotony endpoint being disc elevation and development of peripheral choroidals. Maneuver 2, surgical deangulation of the arteriolar bend for the emboli to get released along a straight path. We pinch and pull the adventitial sheath of the vessel as well as straighten it out. This teasing can either dislodge or fragment an embolus. As we see the embolus migrating distally, complete filling of the vessels is taking place behind the embolus, restoring retinal circulation on the spot. Those who missed it, let's do it again. We would like to describe this process as the most extreme form of digital massage of the CRO that can be possible, as it is performed directly on the vessel. Next attempt at arteriolar teasing releases embolus fragments along two superior arterioles. For those who missed it, let's do it yet again. Maneuver 3, milking and pushing the embolus along the vessel. While dislodging the inferior embolus does migrate but stop short at the fork. This should be okay as macular circulation has already been established and we need no further maneuvering. Circulation as we see is finally restored and
Wow, wow, wow. Dhanashree, what would you do differently? Fantastic, fantastic, terrific.
Thank you, sir.
I congratulate Dr. Saumil. Fantastic.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah, very bold and very courageous and very dramatic surgery. I would say it takes very strong heart to do such kind of surgery where you are not very sure whether it will be beneficial or not beneficial, and where the risk of complications are much higher. So congratulations on your courage and well done surgery.
Was it a cross-court backhand of Federer?
I suppose so. So, as madam said, it was a bold surgery. But the only thing that kept me going is that I have nothing to lose. The patient is anyway PLPR. Even if I have the worst of complication in the surgery, the patient would just remain there.
Yeah. So your
how
paperwork,
soon you
your
could get in,
paperwork
right?
was your paperwork on the permissions, etc., was complete. I hope.
So there was a little bit of a hassle from the cardiologist side. Which is why we were able to operate only within 24 hours. That Dr. Prashant answers your question as well. Otherwise, I could have taken this patient as soon as 4 hours. Because when I saw the patient who came with a sudden loss of vision, I decided to do the surgery because I could see the embolus. So to get cardio fitness took a little bit of a time, though he was kind enough to give it like within 24 hours and we could do it immediately the next day.
For a cardiologist to perform so fast is great. But Saumil, tell me one thing. During your college days, did you have a lot of practice on caressing?
Yeah, lots of. Not of embolus.
I think this is a public forum. I would rather call you up in private and tell you all about my misadventures.
Rakesh
Did this
Shakya
patient-
is the next one.
Yeah.
And Rakesh is not an ordinary surgeon. So for him to do ordinary surgery is no fun. And therefore, he is showing you something very complicated. Dr. Vijay Bhatt, you will be taking on Rakesh Shakya. Rakesh, all yours. एक तकलीफ थोड़ी है. Rakesh, sound.
I think we can't hear him.
Rakesh,
We can't. Sound in the audio is not there.
Rakesh, your sound is not loud enough.
No.
Not loud enough. Rakesh, sound is not loud enough. एक काम करो, आप वीडियो प्ले करते करते आप ही बोलते जाइए. Rakesh.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, the
You
sound is
talk
not
while
there.
your sound is not coming,
Okay.
so why don't you speak while you're doing the video, while you're playing the video?
Sir, okay. So this is the complicated case. Initially, I make a side port and then I actually deepen the chamber. And after that, we break the synechia with the help of the RDS repositor. And then clear corneal tunnel is made. And then the fibrin, actually the membrane was very thick. So I try to cut with the help of the Bona seizure. And then with the help of the Trata forceps, I try to peel off. But the membrane was thick, so I took the protractor to cut this membrane. So I try to make a pupil slightly circular. And then after the pupil was not more dilated, so I actually decided to put the BX ring. So after the putting the BX ring, the job become easy, and after knitting the nuclear entry capsule and make the Rex with the help of Trata force. And after the lens is hydrated and the lens was very soft, so I try to phacoemulsification with low parameter. Inadvertently, actually, I saw the journal dialysis in this case. So I put the CTR in this case. lens matrix removal is very easy, and then put the lens. So lens was slightly very bulky, so I tried to actually push many times, but it refused to go in the bag. VX ring also engaged in this lens. So why this reason actually I tried to remove this VX ring first, and then when I removing the VX ring, some BTS collapses C. And then after that, we cut the BTS with the help of detector again, and then I remove this bulky lens. So after that, was intact and bag is inflated, and then less bulky lens was implanted, and this. So at this time, I was very happy. Actually, bag and the lens is back. Picture अभी बाकी है मेरे दोस्त.
अरे बाप.
So when I take the intravitreal, so inadvertently the air is gone through the intravitreal injection. So why this region the iris actually slightly prolapsed upside and lens also descended. So I tried to remove this air and the iris was collapsed. So why this region I actually the transilon injection also comes out, and then BTS also comes out. So why this region I do the vitrectomy. But despite what many actually had to speak, there the oil was not centered. So in the next post of the lens was descended, and after 1 month lens also descended. So after that, I actually took the patient in the OT again, and the adhesion is removed and lens is dilated and dialed with the help of Sinskey hook, and then after that, actually lens becomes centered. And BCB 36 after 6 months. So all well is and well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So
Yeah.
here there's a chain of things that kept going wrong. And Vijay, how would you do
Yeah.
it differently?
Sometimes the easiest of cases also go bad, but this was a very complicated and a very challenging case. I think the initial management went very well, but I think iris hooks would have helped a bit more, and slightly bit more patience while removing the cataract, and then while managing the vitreous would have still maybe kept the bag firmly in place. But I think each to his own, and the management part slightly, I would say, should have been a bit slightly with a bit more patience, and so the iris prolapses and other things could have been avoided.
Mhm.
While he was implanting the lens, if you would have used more of viscoelastic to deepen the bag and then place the CTR, that would have also helped. But this is all thinking in hindsight, and
Absolutely. So
we would
on
have
the spot
still
thinking
managed it
is,
nicely.
yes.
I'm sure he must have used atropine during the post-op period, so that when he went back inside after a month, the synechias would have been a bit more or less also. So,
Rakesh, would you?
Sir, actually I did the 3 mistake in this case.
yeah,
Initially, I used the actually with the Banach scissor to cut the membrane. So I think we can use the micro scissor to cut the this membrane to make a more circular. And second thing, actually the UBM. UBM is the most actually important thing to do the UBM in the pre-operatively. So the wide to wide diameter we can measure. So to the lens we can assess the lens. And third thing, actually we can use the intravitreal time slot in the antechamber to we can assess the BTS tag to cut the BTS. So
that
actually,
that I think you
want to
used
say that-
later on.
Yeah.
A lot of things could have been done differently, but anyway, what ends well is best.
Yeah. Then there is also the element of faith in Gurudev that works with us at
That
Chitrakoot,
Chitrakoot.
and that we have that extra layer of protection, which I think mere mortals don't have. Mayur, you're next with your hum patch, and Ruchi, are you there? Ruchi is there.
Is there?
Yeah,
Ruchi is there. Yeah, Ruchi, you'd be discussing what Mayur is doing here. He just keeps getting them out one after the other. Hum patch. Mayur?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
as Dr. Ranjit Daliwal told you, all the others can keep your videos open and paused so that it can go on without a lag or a delay. Yeah, Mayur, all yours.
Yeah.
Audio.
Audio isn't there. Mayur.
No, you keep talking with it. No issues.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a 11-year-old boy who presented to us with a orbital foreign body which was accidentally inserted by him between his nose and the eye. And he had removed 2 pieces on his own and presented to us about 2 weeks after the initial injury as an orbital cellulitis. And we took him up for surgery, and you can see the surgical video over here. One of the things, 2 things that we actually kept standby was that first we kept a squint surgeon standby because the MRI initially showed that the medial rectus muscle had been involved, and the foreign body was going all the way back to the optic nerve. The second thing that we did was we kept an ENT surgeon standby because we anticipated that if we had any difficulty in removing the foreign bodies, then we would take the endoscopic endonasal route. You can see that it is a wooden foreign body. We have a history of it being a wooden foreign body, so we went ahead straight with imaging with the MRI. Otherwise, a CT scan to check for any metallic foreign bodies would have been the better modality. With wooden foreign bodies, what happens is when you have a history of it being as long as 2 weeks in place, then there is something that happens and which is called fragmentation. In fact, you will see here that the wooden foreign body is quite friable. And as we are trying to remove it, we tried to remove it from the original conjunctival route only. You can see here when we are trying to remove the big piece, it actually gets fragmented while we are trying to maneuver it out. And see there, the fragmentation just happened. You saw the first piece going out first. This is the second and the third piece. So this in possibility could have been just one wooden piece which is got fragmented in vivo into 5 different pieces. So 3 are gone. Now this is the 4th one that's coming out. This is a small one. And it was in fact here that we thought that we had ended, but no, there was one more which was visible. In fact, that one is the largest one. So you can see that coming out now. Yeah, so that's coming out. That's a really long one. That's about 2.8 centimeters.
Wow.
And once that comes out, what we did was we checked for any more foreign bodies over there. We checked for any injury to the medial rectus muscle or to the globe. And then once we were satisfied, we just stopped the case there. We did not take any suture over there. You can see we are removing the stay sutures. This is the outcome, which is post-op. And these are the 5 foreign bodies, the largest one being about 2.8 centimeters. Thank you.
So, Dr. Mayur, a very well-managed case, but a couple of things I would have suggested. One was that I would have liked to see the MRI. It should not be a surprise that you find 5 of these such pieces. So you should have, you need to do a DICOM imaging, and you need to study the MRI section by section.
You can stop sharing your video, your screen. Mayur. Yeah.
And whenever you have a patient with wooden foreign body, particularly because it is known to be fragmented and there can be multiple pieces remaining. The other thing I would have liked is that, see, you were more for a cosmetic incision. Your aim should have been to expose the area properly. So you should have done a large conjunctival, a peritomy should have been done. In fact, you should have hooked on the medial rectus. You should have tried to explore even areas which were, not visible otherwise. You were just working on the tip of the foreign body. That should not be the approach, because these foreign bodies, they are a nuisance and they tend to be lodged deeper into the areas. And you should always get a check MRI done after you have done your procedure. though, because this may not be the end of the story.
I'm sure Mayur had the check MRI done. Mayur, you
Yes,
can
yes,
stop
yes.
sharing your screen though.
So these are a couple of things, and of course, while taking out, the likelihood of these getting broken is very high, and you don't really need an ENT surgeon for all this purpose, because this is more or less, even if it goes and penetrates into your medial orbital wall, you can easily seize, because those are the areas which are easily, you don't need an endoscope to remove all that. So it was more that the your medial rectus, a good exposure, you should have explored the medial rectus, any small piece hiding behind it, that may actually get missed by an MRI also. So a proper exposure and a direct visualization is a better idea whenever you're dealing with these foreign bodies. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Ruchi. And Anis.
May I just add, I entirely agree with Ruchi about the medial rectus. I would not only hook it, but hook it with 2 hooks and run the hooks along the length of the medial rectus, because sometimes there could be tears in the medial rectus, which you could have.
There was one thing to keep in mind, that the MRI showed it was very close to the optic nerve. So most of the maneuvers that we do in such a case would be a minimal movement of the foreign body. Otherwise, you might end up lacerating the ON.
Sir,
So-
in that case, sir, it is better that if it is even deeper, it would have been better to actually sometimes disinsert the medial rectus and get a better direct visualization. I would
Okay.
still go for it.
Okay. Thank you, Ruchi, Kuresh, thank you. And Anis, the next guy is from Mumbai. He goes for the
Is
best
that
of
so?
everything. And Anis, you would like to tell us something about Dr. Gaurav Shah?
Dr. Gaurav Shah is a fantastic surgeon. I've seen him operate. Obviously, he comes from the illustrious background of his father, so there's no doubting his skills. And
He's here on his
obviously
own
has-
merit, by the by.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. But all the more when I was with him on a trip way back in 2002, 2003. I remember, to Mauritius, he showed his administrative skills also, which was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So anyway,
Great.
he turned out to
Gaurav?
be always looked upon as a great surgeon and as a great administrator also.
Gaurav,
Though
all
I have
yours.
not been in
Take
touch
it.
with him for long.
Hi, sir.
Gaurav, you
Thank
can
you
go
for
ahead,
the
please.
great words.
All yours, Gaurav.
Okay, starting the video.
Well,
Dr. Alok would be looking at this specifically. And Gaurav, you have one hell of a critic in Dr. Alok. Gaurav, again, your sound is an issue, so you'll have to talk while you're
Oh, you are
doing
not able to hear the
it.
sound?
No. There is some switch somewhere in the video where you can share sound, but only Ranjit Dhaliwal knows, and he's not telling.
Okay, I'll help you on that. Can you
Okay.
stop sharing for a moment?
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Stop
Once
sharing,
again,
yeah.
click on share screen at the bottom.
Done.
On the left hand side bottom, there is a check mark which says share computer sound.
Okay, got it.
Fine. So the secret is out. Everybody knows it now. Ranjit, you're not the only one.
Let's try playing the video.
Yeah, trying to take it back.
To peel the proliferative vitreoretinopathy membranes. In this video, we will be demonstrating the best retinectomy, that is, bloodless, easy and safe technique of retinectomy. Proliferative vitreoretinopathy is the most common cause of recurrent retinal detachment. A basic approach to recurrent retinal detachment is to peel the proliferative vitreoretinopathy membranes. After peeling the membranes, if the retina is stiff and immobile, it denotes residual contraction of the retina. In such a scenario, as seen by the immobile retina around the break in the video, one needs to resort to retinectomy to settle the retina. Site of retinectomy is planned such that it extends beyond the area of contracted retina into the adjoining normal retina. Diathermy is done at the intended site to prevent bleeding. Retinectomy was commonly done with a scissor in the past. Nowadays, retinectomy is often performed with a vitrector. In spite of doing diathermy beforehand, bleeding often occurs during retinectomy. Bleeding leads to intraoperative problems such as loss of media clarity, subretinal seepage of blood, and thereby interfering with retinal opposition with retinal pigment epithelium and effective laser photocoagulation. Postoperatively, the chances of lifting of the retinectomy edge increases, leading to recurrent retinal detachment. We present a bloodless, easy, and safe technique of retinectomy using a flute needle or an extrusion needle. In this technique, diathermy is done using excessive energy. This itself induces retinotomy at multiple places on the retina. Thereafter, passive suction of extrusion needle is applied over the diathermized necrotic retina along with slight traction so as to induce discontinuity of the retina. Vitrector is used to remove the anterior retinal flap and also to cut the diathermized blood vessels which are not broken by passive suction of extrusion needle and are bridging the anterior retinal flap and the posterior retina. Careful dissection of the retina done in this manner prevents excessive bleeding at the retinectomy site. Three to 5 rows of laser is done to the edge of retinectomy. Direct perfluorocarbon liquid and silicone oil exchange completes the main surgical procedure. In summary, retinectomy done by passive suction of extrusion needle ensures a best retinectomy, that is, bloodless, easy, and safe technique of retinectomy. Thank you.
Great, Gaurav. This is some uncharted territory, and we have with us Preetham, Alok, and Ajit Babu. I'd invite Alok first. Alok, your comments?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I think it's a wonderful video that sir has shown. Just for the audiences who are watching, retinectomy usually is the last resort for a retinal surgeon when the retina is not settling down. And the key, as highlighted in the video, is not to allow the blood vessels to bleed. And the diathermy of the edge of the retinectomy is important, especially at the sites where the blood vessels are. Use of flute, I have never done this, flute needle to do a retinectomy.
Exactly, that's the novel part.
Yeah,
novel part.
yeah. Rather,
with suction
basically
and gentle teasing.
Yeah, it is taken. The clue is from the posterior retinotomy, which we do for drainage. There also, what we do essentially is create a retinal necrosis and use a flute needle to create retinotomies. So same thing applies here for a peripheral retinectomy. I think whatever you do, whether you use a Caesar or a cutter or a flute, as in this case, the key is to cauterize the bridging vessels which are likely to bleed. And as I said, it would be the last resort for any retinal surgeon to do a retinectomy.
I mean, having taken that decision here, we're talking about the technique of doing the retinectomy.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so that was great. And I think we'll move on to Dr. Ranjit Dhaliwal. He's a bit of an anachronism in this this gathering, in that he's not a young man anymore. But the video is that of his son, who was a very, very, very able surgeon and a young man to boot. So Ranjit, without further ado, you're the joker in the pack, and go ahead, please.
I'll start with the video straight away, and please tell me if the sound doesn't come.
Sound is beautiful.
Hi everyone. In this video we are dealing with a rock-hard black cataract and a ready-to-constrict pupil. Both these conditions are a nightmare for any cataract surgeon, particularly phaco surgeons other than the masters. Such cataracts are always accompanied with lax onules. A corneous scleral tunnel is made with a crescent blade and a side port is made with a 15-degree knife. Closed chamber circular curvilinear capsulorhexis is performed, and keeping in mind the size of the nucleus, radial nicks are given all around the rhexis margin. AC is entered with a 2.8 mm keratome. The nucleus tumbling technique in real time. A gentle hydrodissection with 26 gauge cannula, and the nucleus is tapped on the opposite side to release the trapped fluid, and the cannula flips the nucleus out into the anterior chamber partially. At this stage we shift to visco cannula. Visco does not let the AC collapse and has a cushioning effect on the PC as the nucleus is prolapsed out of the bag. Nucleus is delivered by visco expression. This reduces the repeated entry of instruments into the chamber and doesn't allow the AC to collapse at any step. Now, the same procedure is demonstrated in slow motion. A gentle hydrodissection is performed with a 26 gauge cannula, and the nucleus is tapped on the opposite side to release the trapped fluid. With slight curvilinear movement of the cannula, the nucleus is released of any adhesions it might have with the cortico-capsular covering. Having done so, the same cannula is used to flip and tumble the nucleus out of the bag partially into the AC. The hydro cannula is then exchanged with the visco cannula to inject visco all around the nucleus and to build up visco pressure in the AC. Visco cannula is then withdrawn slowly, and during this procedure the lower lip of the corneo-scleral tunnel is depressed to help engage and slowly visco express the nucleus out of the AC. The key here is how you flip the nucleus out of the bag partially, dislodge it and make it somersault around the cannula like the gymnast uses the support of the rotary movement of the arm of his trainer or coach while vault jumping. The build-up of pressure in the anterior chamber with visco, depressing the lower lip of the tunnel to get the nucleus out, makes it a very safe and minimal tissue handling procedure, and there is very less repeated entry of the instruments into the AC.
Thank you. Lovely.
for your
Fantastic,
patience.
lovely. Deepak,
Yeah.
Deepak, do you play cricket?
Yeah, yes,
Does
sir.
that remind you of Vishwanath's late cut or the square
Yeah,
cut?
square cut. Yeah, it was like a
And
square
just
cut.
absolutely one shot square cut with
Yeah.
minimal movement, minimum tissue handling, and there the lens was out.
And before Deepak takes over, I'll just make 2 points here. Such a tunnel too doesn't need suturing. And astigmatism is not a bad word in ophthalmology, as any word is bad in Punjabi. So, so astigmatism, if somebody, if Deepak also talks about astigmatism, I would talk about that cone of what's that storm or what, how we, and it gives a good multifocality. Deepak,
Great.
take over.
I think, sir, the elegance of the surgery was very beautiful, your thought process, and it was very masterful. I think everybody has a different way of looking at things. The trick here for flipping was you could relax the capsulotomy by making the nicks, radial nicks. That's the secret why the nucleus could be flipped out easily, because rhexis is the barrier which prevents the nucleus from coming out easily. But having said that, I have one issue of compromising the rhexis, because without doing those nicks, I would have tried to enlarge the rhexis by making a much more bigger one, here circumlinear cut, and do it, because I would want to protect the rhexis margin until the last. Because if you have a lax zonules, I could use a CTR, but once the rhexis is compromised, I can't use a CTR inside. Secondly, the long-term centration, refractive predictability is all much more better once we know that the lens is sitting perfectly well in the back. That's the only thing. I would be very, mindful of try not to sacrifice the rhexis. That would be my last resort.
because Rexis has got
No
too many
choice.
advantages to just go let off it. That's the only way. Otherwise, it was just a superb surgery.
Deepak,
I
I'm
think-
not cataract surgeon, but will you not plan the Rexis before going in for Rexis, depending upon the nuclear hardness?
Absolutely, sir. You have to have as big of a Rexis as possible. That is the whole key here.
And
Yeah.
in this particular case, there was the hard nucleus, and the pupil was already going smaller. So we
No,
had to do it this way.
but with the size, the sheer size of the nucleus, no Rexis would have permitted a flip. You can watch Blumenthal n number of times and you'll realize that most of the cataracts he dealt with were never this big in terms of diameter. So here your diameter of the lens was so large that I'm sure there was no other option but to have nicks in the
Sir, if you
capsule.
use a bimanual way of wheeling out the nucleus, where you use two Sinskey hooks, push the nucleus down, one hook goes under the equator of the nucleus, then lift one pole out, and then wheel the nucleus out. If you follow
Okay.
this technique, then
Okay.
you can get the bigger diameter nucleus also along with a smaller opening.
Okay.
You have to use
The-
Ranjit,
wheel it out.
final
One
comment
last
from
point.
you. Yes, Ranjit.
The nucleus was so big that we just couldn't hazard a surgical strike going so far in the equator to find out the equator of that nucleus. One thing, and the other point a different point. I would suggest to all people who are going in for SICS, don't go in for very small tunnels, because
You're there. You're there.
either if you don't know how to bisect the nucleus in the AC or in the bag, so bisection is to be learned first, then the tunnel is supposed to be brought.
Okay, okay. Point made, Ranjit. And
Thank you.
Gautam, Parmar, and Kuresh is finally going to get awake. Anis, have you met Gautam before, Anis? He's one of the biggest cornea surgeons who's unheard of in India. And naturally, he's from Chitrakoot. Gautam, your video.
Just a small update, Dr. Maniar. We have 45 minutes more to go.
Great.
Thank you so much, sir.
Great.
Thank you
Gautam,
for
our discussion will be very, very short. Kuresh, note. Thank you. Gautam.
So, is my screen visible to all?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, thank you, sir. It's an opportunity. It's indeed a honor and pleasure to be part of this scientific feast. So, I am straightforward going for my video here. So,
deep keratitis. Why so scary? Because it is a big diagnostic and therapeutic challenge due to its location. It often doesn't respond to topical as well as targeted therapy like intrastomal and intracameral antibiotics. A 66-year-old male presented with peripheral deep corneal stromal abscess with visual acuity of finger counting at 2 feet. He did not respond to topical as well as targeted antibiotics. So we used a novel approach, posterior lamellar keratectomy, where we excised infected posterior lamella without transplanting any graft. A peritomy was done next to the stromal abscess. Then a partial thickness scleral incision was made and tunnel dissection was done anteriorly and 0.5 mm beyond the stromal abscess. Anterior chamber was then entered using a keratome just posterior to stromal abscess. Viscoelastic was injected and the dissected posterior corneal lamella containing the stromal abscess was grasped with toothed forceps and excised using curved Vanna scissors. Anterior chamber was thoroughly washed. 360-degree posterior synechialysis was done. The scleral tunnel was sutured with continuous 10-nylon sutures, and the wound was hydrostitched. On post-operative day 1, there was gross corneal edema and dense fibrinous reaction in anterior chamber. The posterior stomal defect could be seen hazily. At 2 weeks follow-up, anterior chamber was quiet with completely clear cornea. The uncorrected visual acuity was 6/18 part with no ectasia and no bullous keratopathy at the site of posterior stomal defect. In conclusion, posterior lamellar keratectomy is a simple and effective technique for managing small peripheral deep-seated recalcitrant keratitis. It leads to radical cure like therapeutic keratoplasty in a less invasive way and without the donor graft need. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam. Quresh, all yours. Quresh, you there? You have to unmute.
Suresh, unmute your.
Gautam, what was the pathology diagnosis finally?
Sir, it was not diagnosed actually because it was. Yes. Sir, it was not actually. I sent for culture, but it was negative. Histopath. Unfortunately, I could not send for histopath for the same.
But no organism was found.
Yes, sir. No organism was found on the culture and sensitivity findings.
Yeah, because usually these deep-seated abscesses many times in our country are fungal.
Yes,
so maybe before you did this, a short course of stoppage of the antibiotics and starting the antifungals could have been done,
Yes,
and
sir.
a wash with M4P could have been given.
Yes, sir. Sir, we used intrastomal as well as intracameral antifungal also, but it was not responded. And patient is also, it's a 3-month history of wandering patient everywhere. So we
usually Gautam, in 3 months, whatever it is, it turns fungal. So you did an excellent procedure. That removal of the infected area was excellent, well done. But what I was just saying, at that time, you could have washed with M4B. Amphotericin B could have been used to wash. Now, of course, because of mucormycosis, all the oculoplastic people have stolen all our M4Bs. But in the good old days, we used to have it available, and we could use this as one more additional modality. Maybe the post-op stormy period would have been reduced, but an excellent idea and well executed. We do take scleral punches out in our patients with Mycobacterium fortuitum and Mycobacterium cheiloni, smoldering sclerokeratitis in cataract surgery many times. So I've used this piece from the sclera and the cornea, but not a pure corneal piece as you've done. So well done.
Thank you. Quresh, one question I'll ask you. Would this be an indication for the use of a femto in future, where you make 2 layers? One.
It depends. See, all infectious keratitis patients are poor patients. Till femto comes into government
that's okay.
hospitals,
I
you will
mean,
see.
JJ will get a femto soon, and then maybe this kind of a thing, a femto could be less traumatic, maybe
more elegant also.
Okay. Shilpi Nanavre is our next speaker. Shilpi, and Preetham is going to take her on, and Shilpi has got a hidden lesson for us.
We are all ready, sir.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Now, this is my video.
Good afternoon. This 46-year-old female had total bullous RD just behind the lens and was advised vitreous surgery elsewhere. She was treated case of carcinoma lung and now in remission. These can reveal flat lesions besides retinal detachment. So our provisional diagnosis was exudative RD secondary to metastasis. UBM ruled out ciliary body and iris involvement. Naturally, after oncophysician opinion, this was our plan of management. Phaco being done to create space in anterior chamber for placement of AC maintainer and anterior placement of infusion cannula. Conjunctiva dissected in inferotemporal quadrant with hockey stick knife, sclerotomy done 6 mm behind the muscle ring, and choroid was exposed. 4 mm infusion cannula placed and confirmed its intravitreal location. Suture taken as a guard. Exposed choroidal knuckle punctured with 10-0 suture needle. Yellowish subretinal fluid drained. Infusion put on now and further SRF was drained. Sclerotomy was sutured. Standard 3-port vitrectomy being done. PVD induced. Flat subretinal yellowish bumpy lesions seen in superiotemporal quadrant. FAX done, and that's it. No need of retinopexy or post-operatively onco-evaluation revealed metastasis in brain and posterior superior wall of orbit, and patient was initiated whole brain radiotherapy. DNA sequencing revealed CRAS, which is a driver mutation, and immunotherapy was proposed. So, in this case, retinal detachment drew our attention to the metastasis and thereby difference. Managing exudative RD differs from RRD, that external drainage is available and no need of lasers and tamponade. So friends, look beyond the obvious, because fundus can give clue to systemic diseases.
Thank you. Anis, you'd like to, Shilpi, great job. Anis, you'd like to take over and hand over to Preetham also, maybe? Anis?
Yeah. I normally float around up, so I would not be able to delve deep into
the retina. You can call for help from Preetham.
Right and what is wrong. Fantastic presentation, fantastic follow-up, and obviously these patients are debilitated. They are also cachectic because of the immunotherapy and the chemotherapy. So when you look at all that, I think it's a fantastic surgery. From the surgical point of view, the highlights, dear friend Preetham is better accomplished. I would only say that yes, skill level up there. Even us.
Preetham, sorry.
Yeah. So, it's a fantastically managed case, Dr. Shilpi. Very well done. I think I wouldn't have done anything differently here. Just a couple of points. Number one, that subretinal fluid. The subretinal.
Would you have done all the same things also?
I wish the patient came to me. So,
Ajit, apologies to you.
So the subretinal fluid, I think, is a very precious collection there. So I would have sent it for histopathology, to get probably a diagnosis. I don't know what you did with the subretinal fluid. The other thing is, I would put probably a tamponade there, a silicone oil, because it's the exudative RD is secondary to the mass lesion in the choroid. So although you've settled it by a drainage, probably it can collect again. The exudation could happen again, because the basic pathology you would not you still have to address, right? And I would also keep a watch on the other eye. Make sure that other eye has no other pathology. But and I would do a full body PET scan, because we are dealing with choroidal metastasis. There could be metastasis elsewhere. Yeah. So these were some of the points which I thought of. I can see Dr. Ajit Babu Maji ready to put in some points. So I'm going to open it, because sir's very
I would
senior
not
and he will have definitely some
go
good
for
points.
surgery in this case unless I see, because this is looking like a secondary. Definitely, you need to go for first PET scan and identify the source and treat it. It's an exudative RD secondary to a secondary. So once you treat the secondaries, automatically exudative RD will decrease. You need not go for surgery. That is my take on this case.
Right.
Great.
So here the
Thank you,
exudative
Ajit.
RD was close funnel and right behind the lens. So
Even then, the exudative RD will settle once the primary tumor and the ocular tumor regress.
Right, sir. Right. Thank
So
you.
thank you, Saumil Kuthari. Saumil, are you there? Saumil?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. He plays around with a lot of sutures. He had a lot of toys in his young age. He plays around with sutures. Saumil, go ahead. Let's see how you manage within the eye.
Yes, sir.
And I think Dr. Rohit Om Prakash is there. Rohit is the discussion here.
I did see him, sir. Should I start the video?
Yeah.
This 55-year-old lady had been operated for cataract 8 years back and has now come with a subluxated PMMA IOL. An old PC rent without any vitreous disturbance was found. After injecting OVD, the lens is aligned to the center in the sulcus. Pilocarpine is injected to constrict the pupil. A curved 10-0 Prolene needle is passed through the iris, going below the haptic of the IOL, and it goes through the other side into the iris, out from the other side of the cornea. The suture is then retrieved from the distal end into the proximal side port. A knot is tied outside, which, when pulled, it slides into the eye, and that is the Siepser's sliding knot. The knot grips the haptic of the IOL to the iris. The knot is secured by another throw in a similar manner. The suture ends are cut with micro scissors. The process is repeated for the superior haptic. At the end, the OVD is washed and vitrectomy is done if required. Thus, using only 2 or 3 side ports, the entire IOL is secured to the back of the iris using the Siepser's knot technique.
Thank you, Saumil. Thank you. Rohit, a quick take on this, please. We are really running short of time. Rohit?
Yeah. First thing, I think he's a precautious. I think he has it in his genes. So you cannot undo the work of genes.
Okay.
I think Haripriya and maybe he are the only ones who are doing it. And a long reporting by Dr. Haripriya has showed that they do stay. So the only thing is, if I have to discuss, so what I can say is Triamcinolone, he could have, but then he would have seen the slit lamp. It would not have been there, so it doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
You can at times glue these IOLs also. These PMMA IOLs, as he said. But then I would have at least tried to do that or exchange it with a glued IOL to make it simple for me. Because this, I have never done it. And if you ask me, it's beyond me at this point of time.
Saumil is a conservationist. He conserves things. He doesn't remove unnecessary stuff. You should see his room. It's full of kachra.
And congratulations, Dr. Saumil.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Rushali is going to talk to us about...
That can be only done with a PMMA IOLs or a 3-piece IOLs. It cannot be done with a single-piece IOL.
Naturally. Yeah. So, but thank you. Lovely surgery, Saumil. Rushali Athavale. When you talk about lineage, here's another lineage that you're talking about, Dr. Athavale from Jalgaon. The Dr. Athavale from Jalgaon. Uska hi suputri. Yeah, you're talking about choli ke, no, I'm sorry, padde ke piche. Okay, padde ke piche.
I'll start sharing my video.
Yes, I am ready.
You can be naughty.
I'm there.
You can't be naughty. I'm sorry, you can't be naughty.
डॉक्टर साहब का ग्रे हेयर आया, लेकिन दिल तो वही जवान है.
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल. That keeps us going here. Rushali, go ahead. Rushali, go ahead.
All yours, yeah.
Rushali.
Dr. Vishali, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Rushali, your video is not coming in.
Yes. So I thought I started it, but I'll share it again.
Shall I ask Nikhil to go ahead?
No, sir. Just give me a minute.
Okay.
Share your screen, Vishali.
Yes. So is it visible now?
No, you're yet to come. You're present. That's it.
So I think then somebody else can go ahead. I'll just.
We can see now.
It has come.
Please play
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Start. Play. There's no sound though. Huh?
You can talk, Vrishali, if you.
Yes. So this was a. Yeah. So this was a 38-year-old man, and he was basically a case of FEVR. His vision was hand movements at presentation, and he presented with a subluxated cataract. So after doing a lensectomy and placing 4 ports, we went ahead with vitrectomy. These are the cortical pieces of the cataract which had fallen down. So after doing a vitrectomy, this is the core vitrectomy going on. The vitreous was noted to be very sticky, and here the arrow shows an area of CRA, which we noticed while doing vitrectomy. So the base shaving was initiated, and there were a lot of peripheral mini breaks, which I found. Here I'm injecting PFCL to settle the retina a bit so as to help me with the base shaving. After a thorough base shaving, I ate up the residual pieces, and this is me suturing the fragment home port and doing a PI because of the aphakic status. Now at that time I noticed a whitish lump under the retina, almost submacular, which would not move very easily. So that is when I found out that it was a nucleus piece which had migrated subretinally to this particular break which had opened up, the CRA that I had noted earlier. So then, while thinking what to do, the PCV was removed, and a retinotomy was made just outside the arcade. The piece was tried to be removed from the retinotomy with the help of a serrated forceps. It took quite a bit of manipulation, but then it was very difficult to prolapse it out with the help of serrated forceps. And later the forceps was exchanged with the cutter. So finally it could be prolapsed out with the help of the vitrectomy cutter. And it could be cut and aspirated with the help of a low cut rate.
So you had a complication on the table and you dealt with it.
Yes, sir.
Great. Prashant?
Yeah.
So,
are you over? Yeah, finished?
Yes, and this is just the closing of the case. Fax was done, folder exchange. I'll try to hurry it up, and endolaser was done, as in the case of any RD. I decided to pass a belt buckle at the end of the surgery because the patient was one-eyed. He had a lot of peripheral breaks. And 1000 centistrokes oil was put and the case was closed. So at the end, the patient is now maintaining a vision of 4 meters.
I noticed one thing, no retina guy gives you the vision. Huh? They only give you attachment of retina.
Vaishali, I must compliment you for a great attempt to handle such a case. You know, invariably when you have a subretinal fragment, there are various ways to look at it. One is that how big is the fragment? Second is where it is located. Because there are reports where the lens fragments have gone to the dialysis and the lens was, the retina was settled and the lens absorbed. Because here your attempt to take it out through that hole, through the retinotomy itself must have damaged a lot of retina.
Right.
So you have to find out whether if it was in a small segment or a small piece and lying somewhere in the periphery, this lens matter will get absorbed, because the report which is in the literature, if I can share with you, is that they had the piece going through the dialysis. They just settled the retina and over a period of time that settled. Because you did try to do something, and you should have known this when it went in. When you
Right.
finished your surgery, it was a little bit late because that is the time when it is going inside, or you have a retinal break or whatever. That is the time you should start, putting, after a vitrectomy, start keeping the posterior retina flat and trying to milk it out. And second thing is the amount of cutter you used inside itself, because it is a mostly traumatic. Subretinal nucleus fragment go there because of, attempt to remove the lens nucleus which is fallen behind. So as an anterior segment surgeon, I would suggest that do not try to let the segment surgeon do it. But it's
Thanks,
a great job.
Prashant.
Thank you so much, Rushali. You're doing a great surgery.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manyar, for this opportunity.
Oh, Anis is going to come up with Dr. Nikhil. Yeah, Anis, you want to take
Yes,
over?
yes.
Okay, I hope the screen is sharing. Shall I begin, sir?
Anis,
yeah.
Anis, give him the go ahead, Anis.
The screen is
Yes, yes.
Is the
Nikhil,
presentation
please
seen,
go
sir?
ahead.
Shall I go ahead?
Yeah, Nikhil.
Yes,
Yeah, Nikhil.
yes.
Please
Okay,
go
okay,
ahead.
sir. Going ahead. Is the sound
Nikhil
okay,
is
sir?
Mumbai. He is one of Mumbai's naughtier boys. But I think he's a good surgeon also. Go ahead.
He's Mumbai's dancing star.
Dancing
Can we
star.
see it,
with
sir? Can we
Caribbean.
see it?
Dr. Nikhil, we cannot see your screen.
Okay, just a second. Just 1 second. We cannot see the screen. Okay. Share screen. It's on.
Yeah, now it's on.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
on.
now
Now
it's
just tell me about the sound, sir, please.
Thank you for inviting me for this.
Sound is okay?
Yeah, it's on. Sound is okay. Sound is okay, Nikhil.
Complex cases. This is a case of spherophobia.
थोड़ा sound loud कर दे यार.
Look, I made two
It's full.
side pokes and one main incision of 2.8. The original plan was to put in maybe a scleral fixated IOL or something, but how it progresses. I'm making a horizontal nick with this cystitome. It's so difficult because
So
the
essentially, it's
calculus
an
is
envelope
extremely
capsulotomy sort of thing.
boy.
Okay.
There's no tension in the zonules, so I'm trying to do a little hydro, and I don't want to make a full rexus. It's very, very difficult to do that. I'm not getting the required bounce back.
The main idea is to preserve the bag. You know that.
I want to preserve the bag. The bag is most precious. I don't want that anterior vitreous pressure coming my way.
So I'm doing a little bit of IA with Simcoe. I don't want to put
Simcoe IA.
and get the entire bag out.
Now in this, the PC is so thin that it's trying to pop out along with the entire cortex also. So I'm going to be really, really careful in doing this.
Now I'm going to use a little bit of.
I'm switching over to a coaxial
aspiration.
irrigation aspiration because I feel I have more control with that one.
Less pressure.
I'm not using very high flow.
Doing a very low flow IA sort of thing here. And
Just clearing the entire bag, and the whole aim here is that I want to keep that bag there. See, I've caught it to show you that it's there. That's a heart in the mouth effect.
now with a faucet.
This pupil is not constricting, so I'm kind of teasing it to get it to shut down. It doesn't contract too much. It's adherent.
Adramatic way. Now I'm extending the incision.
I need to extend that incision because the iris flaw is a little larger, so I need a 5 millimeter minimum
Needed to put in the iris.
sclerocorneal bone.
Which I'm using with this specially designed.
So this forceps in my left hand, I call it a kawa forceps. It's designed in a way like a crow's beak, and this is what RC sir has taught me.
Inserting the IOL into position.
First thing is to position it in the anterior chamber, otherwise it will dip
So
down.
that I know where the hooks are going to be, which will be at 3 and 9.
Although here we do have the bag as a scaffold, just like Dr. Rohit Om Prakash does that IOL scaffold for Morganians. Similar.
मस्का मार रहा है. He's your discussion.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
Again, holding it with that forceps. I call it a kawa forceps.
So this is the crow forceps being used. We have to look at the silhouette, which of course we know how to do it.
Elevated and there. Tuck. You just make a
And this tuck has to be very gentle but forceful. We need experience on this. We don't want to tear the iris through and through. At the same time, it should be enough to hold on.
You have to take care not to pull push too much, otherwise I'll lose the shape of the.
Yeah, retaining the shape of the pupil is very important here. Otherwise, we seem like horizontal cat eye kind of pupils also.
Firmly. Looks quite okay. This trapeze act is not so.
So this is how I'm completing the trapeze act. I'm not getting trapped and I'm easily getting out of it by using a iris claw.
Thanks, Nikhil. I'm going to invite Rohit right away.
I'm going to go a little ahead in this. I want to show you the end. Look at that. Look at that. This is how we do the trapeze. That's me and my wife, by the way. I'm ending with that.
No comments here. No
No
comments.
comments.
Nikhil.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you so much.
Rohit.
I've left you.
Rohit.
I think it was an excellent surgery. Nowadays, what is happening is that a good chunk of people, it is around 20 to 25% of people who are shifting to clawing the lens the way you did it. So that is the first thing, because this is something which had gone into oblivion. It is again coming up. And I appreciate that how you were able to do it. And the scaffold which you left behind was also another scaffold which can be added to the armory of scaffolds which we have. Well, how would I have done it? It's a theoretical thing, but if I'm permitted, I would say that Dr. Harshil has come up with a good series of these cases. With the radioactive, this is available with the Otley machine. You can create a small opening, or you could have used the flax also for creating an exit. Once that would have been done, then the capsular hook could have come into action to support the bag at that point of time. Since it was a soft cataract, a CTR could have been added at that point of time only, because between the hooks, because of the aspiration, at times it gets aspirated. So capsular hooks supported by CTR could have done. And once this would have been done, then one could have done the capsular bag fixation by using 2 CTS. This would have been an ideal situation how it could have been done. That is the second thing is this one for gluing up the IOL, gluing it up. But I think it was perfect.
Thank you. If I could, Ranjit, sorry, if I could add a word in this, add some words. I have found that when you use an AC maintainer for these cases, the fluidics inside the eye remains stable.
Absolutely.
You can control the aspiration, you can control the nucleus delivery, and then you can actually go and salvage the bag, and then put the IOL in the bag, which is a natural position. Ranjit sir was unkind to me, and I had sent the same video. He didn't select my video yet. Sir, बहुत मस्का मारा यार.
Okay, Anis. Next time maybe.
Just to
Okay,
update
I'm going to invite Swapnesh, because he is into crowd control and he keeps pushing back things, whether it's the barrier in retina, diabetic retinopathy, or whatever. Swapnesh, are you there?
Dr. Mania, just to update everyone, we have 17 minutes to go.
Great. Thank you. Swapnesh, are you there?
So can you hear me?
Oh, yes, there you are. PDR both eyes. Go ahead.
Yes. So thank you, sir, for this opportunity, and hello to all the seniors. We are going to discuss a case about bilateral PDR where laser pan-retinal photocoagulation. Sound is okay, sir?
Yeah.
Was done initially to stabilize the diabetic retinopathy process. The beginning of the left eye vitrectomy is seen here with clearing of
Increase the volume, Swapnesh.
and the anterior vitrectomy completed. Diabetic vitrectomy also has many challenges in form of vitreoskisis. So induction of PVD is very tough. You can see a flat tabletop configuration of the posterior hyaloid.
Yes, volume is less.
Which is making the PVD induction absolutely
It's maximum,
difficult.
Rohit, Swapnesh, you can supplement it with your own dialogues.
Optimization, modern use of
Basically a flat tabletop configuration,
the dissection,
vitreoskisis, those are the
better.
difficulties. In spite of
However,
using forceps, it was difficult.
I had to resort to use a 24 number needle to create an opening in the posterior
I'm
hyaloid
using a 24 number needle
because I
to
couldn't
create
get
an
any
opening.
cleavage plane using the forceps. We have to be extremely careful at this step and see to it that we are not traumatizing the retina below.
So with the port optimization, we can go in the cleavage plane, start the dissection. You have to be careful not to traumatize the retina below.
dissection of these membranes. Because of the port optimization, desegmentation is quite easy, as you can see. There are multiple areas of fibrovascular proliferation with point attachment. Hence, we have to rotate the mouth of the cutter as well as sometimes use our left hand to proceed with the dissection. Now I am using forceps to loosen the posterior hyaloid over the optic nerve head. We have to be extremely careful while doing this procedure because we can induce a lot of bleeding.
Swapnesh, your videos, I think, hung. Swapnesh.
Yeah.
Your video got paused, Sapnesh.
I guess we lost him.
Yeah, okay. Ajit Babu sir, Swapnesh was telling us about how he can manage complicated diabetic retinopathy cases. And maybe you'd like to shed some light on that, sir, with all your vast experience. Ajit?
Yeah, actually, Swapnesh has shown a little bit advanced case of diabetic retinopathy with proliferation, which is involving both posterior pole as well as up to the equator. So in these cases, getting a right plane is the key for dissection. Right plane can be entered around the disc and between disc and the macular area. So once you enter the right plane, from there you can use either viscous dissection and then use the scissors to cut the epicenters so that minimal bleeding can happen and the dissection can be more complete in these cases.
Thank you. Swapnesh, are you still there? Swapnesh?
Sir, could I make a comment here?
Yeah.
Yes, Sabina, please.
Sabina.
Sir, Dr. Ajit, sir, I would like to ask, what is your take on use of forceps in these cases? Like Dr. Swapnil was showing use of forceps. So
So forceps you can use, but not completely, because it can lead to inadvertent bleeding, which is difficult to stop. It's always better to use the scissors and cutter. These days, the cutters have the tip, the port of the tip in the cutters is towards the end. So that also can be used as a scissors and lift up by suction, alternate suction and cutting. You can dissect these membranes very effectively. Forceps is the least preferred out of these three.
Okay. Swapnesh, are you still there or you? Anyway, we'll move ahead and we are now going to invite Dr. Sumit Lahane. He's telling us about, like Charles Dickens, he has the tale of two tumors. Yeah.
Thank you, Maniya sir, and thank you, AIOS, for giving me opportunity to present here. Good afternoon, everyone. So I will be presenting a case of orbitotomy. So basically, this is a case where we know orbit is a Pandora's box, and once you open it, it could be anything. So we started with this 55-year-old female presented with the 6/6 vision, and left sided you can see a very well demarcated cavernous hemangioma. Once we diagnose cavernous hemangioma, to approach it, there are multiple ways to enter the orbit, from transorbital, medial, lateral. But looking at the inferior orbital position, intraconal, we decided to go ahead with the transconjunctival approach. So we did canthotomy and cantholysis. And after doing a traction sutures on the lower lid, transconjunctival incision was taken at the inferior orbital margin. Retraction of the tissues were done with the spatula and periosteum was separated. After a blunt dissection and opening the periorbita, the fat prolapse was noted. And here we find the tumor slowly trying to dissect it from the surrounding tissue and the fat. It was held with cryoprobe, which is considered as the third hand of the surgeon, and tried to separate from the other tissues with the help of the periosteum elevator. Once we considerably take it out of the orbit, this simple juggling movement can help to prolapse the whole of the tumor outside the orbit very simply.
Obstetric term kiya hai.
And hence the lesion smoothly removed from the orbit. And as a surgeon, I was thinking the work is almost done, but that was not the picture. And then we noted one more thick encapsulated mass inside the orbit. And that started with our discussion in the OT. That was it a one tumor that we started with, or there were two tumors? And after a whole lot of argument, then we decided there were two tumors. And since we see that, let's go ahead with the removal of this. So we went ahead with the dissection and we removed the second tumor successfully from the orbit. Sent it for histopathology. And meanwhile, we sutured the conjunctiva with 60 Vicryl. And lateral canthus was reconstructed. Patient was doing well post-operatively, and our pathologist confirmed the diagnosis of cavernous hemangioma. Both the masses removed were nothing but cavernous hemangioma. We did it well. Patient continued to have a vision of 6/6, and there were no recurrence for a follow-up of 1 year altogether.
Hello, sir. Swapnesh, काय झालं? परत करायचंय तुला?
No, that's okay, sir.
To take away the transcongenital orbidotomy provides a minimal invasive approach, faster recovery, and orbit is full of surprises. So be ready for any surprise once you open the orbit. I would like to thank my mentor, Dr. Santosh Unnao, sir, and all my colleagues who helped me to make this video. Thank you.
I guess.
Lakshmi Mahesh, I think you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Maniar and team, for inviting me. Thank you, Sumit, for this nice video. I would like to know how the second lesion was missed and what prompted you to go back inside and look for it.
Ma'am, basically, we went ahead with the imaging which patient had got to us, and that was suggestive of a one mass, and it was very classical of cavernous hemangioma. And once we removed, we were very relaxed. But then, as there were a lot of dissection done, I was checking my wound and I wanted to see for any bleeders that it is not left inside. Because post-operatively, bleeder left in the orbit and cause orbital hematoma and then the post-op complications. So I was just looking for the bleeders and checking my wound. By that time, I found this small mass there lying.
Very good. Excellent. Both the points taken, because generally we like to do, when we suspect a soft tissue tumor, we like to do an MRI. But basically, most of the times for screening, we get a CT done. And if the patient comes from a remote area and is not able to afford an unnecessarily, when the diagnosis is pretty clear that you're going to go in for a surgery, you don't try to repeat the scan and make the patient unnecessarily spend on another scan. But the fact that you went back inside and made sure that there was no bleeder, because there was a lot of manipulation of the fat that I could see, because sometimes when you leave behind fat which is bleeding, you can have retrobulbar hemorrhage and you can lose vision. 6/6 vision to begin with can be anything. So I think that's a very good point that you went to inspect the wound and do the needful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi. Sumit, obstetric term पण केलं होतं? नाही ना? The way you delivered it, so beautifully. Anyway, time's up, and Prashant Agnihotri is our senior most participant here. He is almost becoming senile now, I think. Prashant, would you like to sum up?
Yes, it is an honor. Always Dr. Manyar is a person to be associated with and, enjoy life. This session was special because, surgeons showed their skills and the experts, they said what more could have been done. I'm really happy that the AIOS has thought about this trapeze session. Trapeze session, and I'm sure that every artist in this had excelled in his performance. Thank you so much once and again. And thanks for it.
Ranjit is raring to go. Ranjit, yeah, put in your 2 bits also.
I just wanted to know, where's the 12th man, sir?
12th man was not there because he was not required. The team was complete.
Thank you so much. Hats off to everybody, all the participants.
I didn't hit the wicket.
And Alok, and is Vineet there? Vineet Ratra? Is Vineet still around? Vineet?
I'm there, sir.
Vineet, I would like your closing comments here because overall, sab kuch dekh ke.
Fantastic session, fantastic videos, good learning, good teaching from everybody. So thank you very much. It was fantastic.
I think it was solely.
Goody mat bolo. Goody mat bolo. Sahi baat bolo.
Such as sir.
I should say these virtual sessions, the virtual.
बोलूंगा सच के सिवा कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा.
Yes.
Ajit, you must serve virtual food at least, with virtual.
Yeah, I know.
Lunch.
No. Swiggy available है हर city में. They can order and send to our house.
AIOS will ask Zomato or Swiggy to deliver food to faculty at least.
This will propose.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, everybody. And we've had a lovely show. My dear viewers, this was a new session. It was something conceived by Dr. Partha. And it was to showcase the young guns there. And essentially, that is what we want. Thank you. Thank you, Ranjit.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. And we have the session coordinator here, Mr. Puma. Mr. Puma is there. Puma kahan gaye?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm here, Dr. Manyar.
Did you know that Puma logo of his lovely logo? It's made of non-real gold. It's not real gold. But
God bless.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for keeping
bye,
time.
everybody.
I really
And
appreciate it.
we've had fun. Essentially, science is fun. If you can't enjoy it, there's no point in doing it.
Life is fun, sir. Life itself is fun.
Absolutely.
God bless.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank
and
you. Thank you so much.
Hoping
Bye.
next time we meet in person. God
Yes,
bless.
that
Sure,
we will.
sure.
Mumbai.
Okay, good day.
Good day, everybody.
All right, so next session will start in exactly 5 minutes from now. Thank you so much. You are in Hall Brill, and let's come back at 2 p.m.
Okay, we're leaving now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.